Right, and we're live. Hey everybody, I'm Stuart from NetReady, and this is MLM for CEOs, the channel that is aimed at providing key insights to company owners operating within this lucrative multi-level marketing space. In today's episode, we're going to be speaking about choosing the best compensation plan that is perfect for your business. And here to help me unpack this information is a good friend and mentor of mine. He's a man that has been designing compensation plans for decades, and he's sitting right next to me. His name is Mr. Richard Sletcher.
You nearly forgot where I was, eh?
Yeah,
it was close.
How's it going?
It's good.
We have fun in here.
Yeah, we do. I love this place. Every time I step into it, I think, wow. And it's nice and quiet, and it's beautiful, and it's perfect temperature.
Yeah.
Epic. Love it.
It's awesome. What are we going to do about this backdrop?
We've got to get ourselves an MLM for CEOs, official MLM for CEOs backdrop.
Yeah.
When we got this up, it was sort of a generic backdrop that we could use for a lot of different things. But I really want to go out and see if we can design something that will work here.
Yeah. Okay. So future episodes to come, you're going to see this beautiful MLM for CEOs backdrop. Okay. So Richard, I get the reason that I want to do this episode with you is because I get this question often. This week alone, I've got this question maybe 5 times. Stu, design a comp plan for me, or which comp plan should I use? What is best for my business? All those kinds of questions. When you go about choosing the right compensation plan, how do you do it?
Well, there's 2 things there. You're saying that the guys come to you and say, what should I do? But what is even worse is when they come to you and say, I'd like to use Joe Bloggs' comp plan.
Right.
And it just shows a complete lack of insight into what compensation plans are and what they do and how they work. So the first thing for me is that you've got to establish what your product offering is. Because if you don't know what your product offering is, how do you design a compensation plan around it? You need to know what your volumes are. You need to know what your profit margins are. You need to know what your markups are. You need to know that you've got space to maneuver. Is this a recurring product? Is it a once-off purchase? Will the person purchase this every month because it's like a face cream, a lotion, or a potion? Is it a digital product that automatically gets deducted, like, for example, cell phone airtime or voice over IP or something like that? Is this a once-off purchase, like a high-ticket item, like stuff to put in your decor for your house, or a vacuum cleaner, or something like that?
Or a house.
Or a house. It could be, absolutely. So the first thing is to establish, okay, what kind of purchase is this? What kind of product is it? And to really nail down or define that product as concisely and completely as possible. Once you have the product, the second thing to determine is, who are we selling this product to? Because depending on how we're targeting the person, or who the person is, will depend on how we target them, which will then lead to, for example, how we compensate. So, for example, let's say we have a product that is a digital product and we decide the only way to target these people are online. Then you would have a completely different compensation plan and strategy to, this is a kind of product that actually needs to be demonstrated. The salesperson has got to go into a person's home, sit with them to 2 to 3 hours, demonstrate the product to them, convince them to buy it, and then make that sale. I mean, in the old days, you would typically talk about things like vacuum cleaners or encyclopedias was the prime example of those kind of in-house sales. But that hasn't gone away. I mean, you've got interior decoration, those kind of products. You've got party planning where moms go in and speak to 5 or 6 moms in a group.
Like a Tupperware.
Tupperware, prime example. So every single one of these products has a specific target market. And once you've established who the target market is, then what you can do is decide how you're going to approach that target market. How are you going to actually tackle them? What is our strategy for actually talking to the people that we are wanting to sell to? At that point, you then need to work back and say, right, let's create a compensation plan that drives the activities we need to reach the customer.
Sure.
So the compensation plan is fundamentally a mechanism to reward people for doing the things that you need them to do to achieve the end goal of selling your product. Now, if you don't have all of that in play already, then how do you design a compensation plan? Using somebody else's compensation plan is useless. Either it's driving the specific behaviors that they're looking for, or they copied it from somebody else and they're wishing they'd never done that in their life before.
Right.
Now, another thing, I just want to put this on the table. When you design a compensation plan and when you adopt a compensation plan, you need to understand that it is the most expensive decision you will ever make. Your compensation plan costs you more by far than every single other expense that you will ever have in your business. On average, companies are paying around 40% in commissions, which means if you've got a $10 million a month business, you're paying $4 million
Right.
in compensation, in commissions.
Oh.
That means you're paying $48 million a year. And now you want to use somebody else's compensation plan? Now you want to sit down yourself with no experience and try and calculate a compensation plan for yourself? You're not prepared to get a consultant to come in and sit down and work with you to come up with a proper compensation plan? And you're making a $48 million decision here. And that's just in year one.
Right.
If you run your business for 2 years, you're like close to, $100 million you're close to.
Yeah.
And that's assuming you're just doing $10 million a month. What happens if your business is doing $100 million a month? So the issue is that this aspect, the compensation plan, is the biggest decision you will make in your MLM business. Now, if your MLM business fails, any compensation plan is good enough. Use anything.
Right.
The problem comes in if the MLM business is successful. And now you are stuck because there is no changing your compensation plan. Okay?
So that's the next question I wanted to get into. Is once that compensation plan has been written, it's established, and the market has now adopted it, can we change it?
No.
And what are the reasons?
Well, there's a fundamental key reason here, okay? Because it's a balancing act. The compensation plan is a balancing act. You got, let's say you've allocated 40%. Now, the balancing act is who you give that 40% to. You might be retail heavy. You might say, look, this product requires a lot of in-house, in-home demonstration. We're going to put a big chunk of our compensation plan towards retail. Or it might be leadership heavy. You might say, okay, we've got a big draw on leadership. We want to actually skew the compensation to leadership. Now, you take somebody else's compensation plan. You plug it into your business. It's driving the wrong segment of the market. It's doing too much leadership, not enough retail, or too much retail, not enough leadership. In order to balance that out, what you got to do is you got to take money from somebody and give it to somebody else.
Right.
Now, the person who's receiving the great more money, they're ecstatic. What about the person who's losing the money?
They leave.
They leave. That is exactly right. They're not ecstatic by a long shot.
No.
And a small percentage shift can have a massive impact on a person's income. And you undermine the person's income and they are disappointed and they leave. We did a compensation plan change with one of our clients. I'm not going to mention their names because my first thing was don't change the compensation plan. That is the golden rule. The second rule is if you have to change the compensation plan, please go back and refer to rule number 1, which is don't change the compensation plan. They had top leaders that were doing huge money in the business. They felt they were paying out too much commission. They had adopted a completely different compensation plan. They lost all their top leadership. The business went from doing millions to doing hundreds of thousands. And they've never been able to recover from it.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very treacherous space to make a mistake in.
So whatever decision you make, whoever you think you're going to benefit, there's always going to be a loser in the situation in the network, and that portion of the network is going to typically just leave.
But also then there's the Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
Because now you've changed the compensation plan, and it's just Chinese whispers all the way down the network.
Company doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They
did this. They stole my money from me. And then if your leadership leaves, that's not the major problem because your leadership moves across to some other company. But because their entire team is with your company, they target your entire team. And before you know it, you've lost your whole network. So when we're talking to companies about their compensation plan, we say to them, listen, get a specialist. Get somebody in who knows what they're doing. Then decide what your product is, define it. Decide who your target market is, define it. Work out how you're going to tackle that target market, define that. Then decide what are the behaviors you need to drive in order to get the end result, which is making the sale, and then design a compensation plan that drives those behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's mechanisms up the wazoo. You can have retail commission. You can have volume bonus, which drives volume. You can have leadership commissions. You can have level-based commissions. You can have differential commissions. You can have binary commissions. And I mean, there's just 1,000 mechanisms to implement that you can drive the behavior. But the issue is you need to know what behavior you're driving. And for me, most company owners who don't understand this are looking at how they can give their money away.
Yeah.
Rather than how they can drive behavior.
Yeah, that's powerful. In your opinion, where would you typically focus? Would you focus on a heavy retail component to drive the initial sales, or would you balance them out?
You sound like one of my clients. Well, it depends on what product you have. It depends on who your target market is.
Right.
It depends on how you're targeting those people. It depends on what the behaviors you're looking for. Because a product that is heavily online, that is where you don't have to do any demonstrations, you might have a small retail component.
Yeah.
A product that is very heavy on the demonstration side, you might want very, very strong retail components and very strong leadership components, and then smaller commissions on the way up for the sort of regional managers and the national managers and the global managers. You might have smaller percentages based on that, but your focus might be down the line. So again, you cannot answer that question. That question that you just asked me, where would you focus, is highly dependent on what your product is and how you're targeting your audience.
Right.
And the exciting thing is if you get it right, then your business grows, because obviously everybody gets in because of the compensation plan. That's actually a very quick point I'd like to make. The compensation plan is fundamentally about acquisition of the network member. Because when you pitch the business, what are you talking about? You sign up 2 people, you sign up 4 people, you sign up 8 people, and you earn this, go out and buy a Porsche. That's what you're pitching. Okay? But the retention is about the person actually earning money. And if you get the balance wrong, what happens is the people don't earn money, and if they don't earn money, they leave.
Sure. And going about pitching the compensation plan, I mean, obviously as a company owner, you need to understand that from start to finish, and understand where those trigger points are, who's going to appeal to just going out and selling the products. Yes, there's a retail commission. Who's going to appeal to just starting to build their teams, who's going to drive thousands of people in their downline. You need to be able to touch on each one of those avatars, that target markets within your network, and appeal to them.
Exactly.
But you need to understand your comp plan first. And I think a lot of company owners don't fully understand what their comp plan means.
Look, that has been a challenge that we've had. We explain the comp plan to people, and this is a problem that I particularly have. I've been working for this for like over 30 years. So when it comes to compensation plans, the person breezes over the compensation plans. I can see what the compensation plan, I can understand the implications instantly. And you know what it's like. When it's so simple for you, you think it's simple for everybody.
Yeah.
But the reality is these compensation plans are damn difficult to understand, and it's difficult to understand the nuances of them. And what you've got to do is you've got to get the company owner to a point where they understand the nuance. Why are we doing this? And what is this actually designed for? What is this compensation element there for? And how does that impact on the overall compensation payout? And where are those sections going? And how to explain that to somebody and train them. Now, the compensation plans, there's no such thing as an easy compensation plan. And I think in the we need to put in the Facebook account that Jay Leisner message that we did.
Yes.
I'd like to get that podcast out there,
Yeah.
because everybody says to me, we want a simple compensation plan. Well,
Right.
if you want to drive behavior, there's no such thing as a simple compensation plan. The reason you want it to be simple is because you think people won't understand it, and you think you won't understand it. Well, the reality is that your people don't need to understand it. They just need to understand their next step. So if somebody's focused on selling, they only need to understand how the retail commission
Yep.
works. When they sign up their first people, they only need to understand how that works. They don't need to understand how a Triple Crown Ambassador Deluxe Superstar rank works. They just need to understand their next session. And so you can build up their knowledge over time by doing training for, you could have, like, let's say you have a dealer training, and then your next is a gold dealer, and your next is a platinum dealer. You could have training at every level teaching the compensation plan. But going back to what you said, the owner has to understand every single nuance of the comp plan in detail so that there's no confusion. And how many of our clients do not understand their own compensation plans? And then when things happen, it's like, but I never understood it to be like that. Well,
Right. Yeah.
hello.
We've obviously got extensive resources on MLM for CEOs, on all the different types of compensation plans, the different bonuses, the ways of earning, and how you can go about creating it. So there's a lot of resource out there. You need to understand your business, and then you need to educate yourself on what is out there, how you reward people, and then merge those two. But then understand exactly how that compensation plan works, because when you present it, you need to know what's going to be the triggers for the different types of people in the different types of stages.
And look, I don't advocate necessarily for people to get consultants involved because they're expensive, and there's a lot of stuff that if you just apply yourself to, you can get right. You can learn it online. You can get the information you need. If you want to set up logistics or you want to set up anything like that, it's easy to do that if you just apply yourself. But the compensation plan is very, very specialized, and it's your number one expense. And so that would be the one area that I would say, go out, find a specialist, somebody who specializes in compensation plans, who understands all of the nuances of them, and then work with them to get your compensation plan designed for you. Then make sure that you understand it and you can interrogate that compensation plan every which way but Sunday. Don't just let the guys give you the comp plan. You've got to interrogate it, find out everything that it's supposed to do, interrogate it to a point that you are 100% convinced that everything will be done the way you expect it to be done, and then implement that comp plan.
Right. And learn it, pitch it.
Yeah, exactly.
1,000 times over. Okay. Richard, thanks so much for this time.
Pleasure.
Really enjoyed this. It was good. Guys out there, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time dedicated to us here at MLM CEOs. Please follow us on all of our channels. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We'll see you next time. Cheers.